Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure for us in another episode of the Tennis Talk, Coaches' Voices, to have a great tennis coach, a great tennis leader is with us, Jacco Eltingh. Thank you to be with us, Jacco.
More than welcome, Fernando. Looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, it will be for sure a wonderful chat because this is the purpose of our podcast, to create a relationship, a bridge between top guys like you to all the tennis people all over the world, because we need to create awareness how we achieve results and how we can create a better growth for our sport. To introduce Jacco, because everyone knows about him, Jacco was a 6 times Grand Slam champion. He won the Grand Slam, the 4 Grand Slams. He was number 1 in ATP doubles and 19 in singles. He won 44 doubles title and 4 singles title. He's the national technical director of the Netherlands Tennis Federation. It's a pleasure to have you on our episode, and let's talk about tennis.
Yes, looking forward, Fernando.
Let me give you, the first question. Who is Jacco Eltingh?
Well, it's not the guy you just mentioned who was winning those matches in previous times. By the time right now, I'm almost 52 years old. And as you said, I'm technical director of the Dutch Federation for tennis and padel, also the commercial director at the moment. I have the privilege of being a father to 3 sons who are already the age 23, 22, 21. I retired in 1998, so you already realized what I started doing when I retired. I was trying to create a family with my wife. Hellas was also a former tennis player. She also played around top 100 in singles and doubles. Her name is Hellas Terit. And I got involved with tennis at age 7. So right now 52. So yeah, either as a player, as a coach, as a technical director, as an entrepreneur. I've been busy in the field of tennis for almost 45 years now. It's ridiculous the moment you mentioned that. And it really doesn't matter in what position I am. I enjoy it thoroughly. It's what makes me wake up in the morning with pleasure, and what makes me go to bed very tired every evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you, how was that transformation, to become, because you are a great tennis coach and tennis leader, and also you were a former top player. How was that transformation, from player to become a coach?
Well, for me, that was quite a slow transformation because, as I said, I retired in 1998. In the beginning, I was still close to tennis, but more as an entrepreneur, not so much being around building program for a federation or club or coaching on an individual basis. That I did for almost 15 years, and only until 2015, 2016, I started to become more involved in trying to develop players. In 2017, I joined the Dutch Tennis Federation, and also there, basically my official coaching degree, also helping out in the programs, helping out my colleagues who are traveling with a lot of the players. That's really when my coaching and started to be closer to the court again, let's put it this way. So that has been more recent, but obviously in the time in between, I was a commentator for Dutch television, also for the World Feed at some Grand Slams. And yeah, you still see a lot of tennis. You still spend a lot of time around the tennis court, watching players, seeing what they do better over the years, what has become faster. So it's been there all the time, basically.
Yeah, that's very good. And how many challenges, let's say, difficulties you face it in that transformation, to become you are in charge and you are a national director, but also to be a coach? How was your, let's say, personal transformation? How many things you have to transform yourself?
Well, I think it's very important to first always ask yourself the question, do I enjoy it? Because I think that's the most important thing, because whatever you do, it needs a lot of time and effort. And if you put in a lot of time and effort and you don't really enjoy it, or your family doesn't support you or your friends, it's going to be very hard to achieve the goals that you have for yourself, regardless of what they are. And especially in sports, we both know it's not a 9 to 5. It's not a 9 to 5 job. It's a job that takes a lot of effort, and you need all the support. And for me, it was important also to realize where my added value was at its place the most. And for myself, if I don't feel that I have any added value, it's very difficult for me to be committed. So I really need the feedback from players, coaches, other staff, that they enjoy my input, and that my input is wished for. If I don't feel that, although I enjoy talking, I don't talk that much, and I'm not that outgoing. I really need to feel that, that's what I do hopefully has a benefit.
Yeah.
And before you know that, obviously you have to communicate, and you have to try a few things, and sometimes it goes wrong, and next time you feel, okay, this one is really successful. Okay, hopefully they enjoy the things that I do here. But it's always going like this. It's never every day is only up. There are also a lot of downsides to it, on a personal level, on how to interact for myself, but also sometimes what you can expect from the people that you work with. And eventually it's all about the player. That we should never forget that. And sometimes you tend to meet people who say that they do it for the player, but you kind of know they have a second agenda, so they do it maybe more for their own pleasure, for their own money, or for their own career, and sometimes that's painful to accept.
Yeah. Talking about values, because you did talk a little bit about it. Which are your principles, like coach and also like a leader, like principal values to share with people?
Open,
Transparent.
transparent. I think that's very important to be transparent. I think it's also very important to be sincere. That's not always the same as open. I think if you're not sincere, it's only going to be a matter of time that people will feel that you're maybe have a different reason why you're doing certain things. And as soon as people feel that, whether it's a player, whether it's a colleague, it doesn't really matter, then they will not show any trust. And from trust, confidence, self-confidence, that only comes in an environment where you can say things to each other, that you know that they're not going to attack you, that they're not going to doubt you, and that it will be accepted. And from there on, you can together then with the person, you can develop a relationship based on the most important principles, and hopefully you have the same goal, put in a lot of time and effort, as I just mentioned. And then if you have the same principles, like the same values, I think that's when you only can have a successful relationship.
Yeah, and I'm talking
or
about
a successful program, even a successful program.
Yeah, definitely, and trust, like you say, is very important. No? And what do you think about, because you are working right now also to develop other coaches through the national program? You are working with the training coaches program, which is one of the best one in the world. How do you see, which are the principles, let's say, values to be a coach?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me which are maybe the difficulties that you see, but to start positive, I see a lot of passion. I see so many coaches, whether they are at a club, whether they play with more professional players at different ages. I see a lot of passion. Once again, you cannot do this job if you don't have passion for the sport of tennis. If it's sometimes a player at recreational level who just comes to have a lesson and to have a hit, maybe to help this person from A to B is maybe only a very small step, but it can be so rewarding. And you know, as a tennis coach, you are so much more many times than a tennis coach. You are just there to help them get rid of bad emotions for the week, to break a sweat. You can introduce them to other people on the court so that they are part of a group. And these are great things that you can do these kind of things as a tennis coach. That's a great thing to see. I see a lot of knowledge too, but at the same time, I also see a lot of knowledge disappearing. I don't know what it's like in other countries, maybe in America or South America, but in Europe you see a lot of coaches who eventually leave the sport at a quite young age, age 34, 35, because they've been doing it for 10, 15 years. It's been a hard job. They start to develop a family. And most of the hours that you can make as a tennis coach, at least in the Netherlands, are between 3, 4 p.m. in the afternoon until 10 p.m. in the evening. So if your family starts to grow, it's very difficult to see if, for instance, your partner is working, or if your children are going to school, and eventually, obviously, they go to bed at a certain age. It's very difficult to mix your working life together with your family. And we see a lot of tennis coaches leaving the sport, therefore, because it doesn't bring also a lot of consistency, which means that you don't have a lot of coaches who have been there for a long, long time. And we see luckily, a lot of new coaches coming in, maybe at age 25 again. But let's say 140 guys or 150 guys are quitting and 150 new ones are coming in.
Yeah.
You still have the same level and the same amount of coaches,
Yeah.
but you lose 150 times 10 years of knowledge.
Yeah. The experience, no? Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't notice that every day, but that means that the knowledge that you need at every level of the game to help players to develop, it's disappearing. Although you still have the same number of coaches, but if they are younger and younger, you still lose a lot of years of experience. And that's the thing that's actually worries me quite a lot. And therefore, we try to ask coaches who have been working in tennis. Right now, luckily, tennis in padel in Holland has been going like this. So there's a real strong demand for tennis coaches also. And we have a lot of coaches who quit the game because the numbers were going down. COVID started to come. They didn't have a contract for many years or a fixed contract. So they were thinking, oh, maybe I should get another job. Maybe I should leave tennis. And now a lot of them, they're coming back again. So we, as a federation, we have a great development program where we try to get a lot of new coaches to come in with a good standard of quality. But at the same time, we try to reintroduce coaches who have been working in the past to try and come back. It's a very important thing right now. And well, this year, I think it's almost between 80 and 100 coaches on almost 3,000 coaches that are coming back already this year. So yeah, if you look at the numbers, it's very important for us.
Yeah, and I think it's happening all over the world. No, it's tennis is a very tough work. Let's say you have to put a lot of hours, even on weekends, or traveling around if you want to develop players. But
it's worrisome, Fernando, because if you have less experienced coaches, and if there are going to be less players, if numbers are declining, or if numbers in juniors are declining, because also our national population is getting older.
Yeah.
That means the pond that we are fishing from is going to be smaller if you look towards top tennis. And you cannot compensate everything with only passion and with a lot of enthusiasm. You can compensate a lot with passion and enthusiasm, but not everything. And it's quite worrisome, I must say.
No, but my point is, talking about what you are saying, Jacco, which is very important that in your case and also on the organization is working. I think one of the key aspects that we need to understand in tennis, nothing is natural. You have to create a strategy. You have to create awareness, attraction. You have to deal with the issue and then try to find solution. That's, from my point of view, is the key that you are doing. Let me change a little bit about, let's talk about mentality. In some way, it's what you are talking. You were a great top player, competing in a high level. And also you are doing the same right now, leading a project with the National Federation. From your point of view, because people love the big players, but to be a leader, to be a coach is quite the same. Yes. How champions, let's say champion of life, behave? How champions of life think, from your point of view?
Well, I think Well, it's tough to say something that's general for everybody, but I think first of all, champions, they um, are willing and ready to do the right things at the right time, which means, first of all, they have to recognize the right moments.
Yeah.
Then they have to know what to do. Then they have to be able to perform under pressure the right decision or the right strokes or the right tactical decision on court, off court, to make things happen. I think this is very important, and so you need the guts to do it as well, and you need to recognize the moment
Yeah.
also. And I think that's really important. And what's so great if you see Djokovic or Nadal or Federer, imagine for how many years they have been doing it, and they have had the willingness to stay focused, to keep recognizing the moment, and to put in the effort. Because even if you recognize the moment, but you're not willing to put in the effort in proper preparation, early preparation is also a great thing for people who are successful. And they don't like surprises. They don't mind being surprised sometimes, but in general, they want to be in control. They want to have grip. They want to dictate. They want to have as much as possible within the 80% standard. And if 20% are sometimes some variables, that's okay. But what's the worst thing that can happen to you if you're on court if you don't know what your opponent is going to do? These are the most difficult opponents to play. But also, if it's one guy who's doing a lot of strange things all the time, many times you see that when pressure comes, they're not consistent enough.
Yeah.
So consistency is, I think, for my personal reasons, more important than just having all kind of frivolous ideas and try to get away with things. I think it's also very important to have a very high consistency. It's not about one great result or one really bad result. It's about a high level all the time. It's the same thing as a leader. If I luckily sometimes perform badly, okay, it's not great, but it will not be a matter of life or death most of the time. It's the same if I do something, poorly or very, very great. It's about how you perform throughout a year. That determines what your value is.
Yeah.
It's a 52-week ranking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not a one tournament ranking. And it's the same thing when you're a leader. Yeah, you'll have some terrible things happening to you. You make some bad choices. Hopefully, you also make a couple of great ones. But yeah, you should not brag about the great ones. You should not be too sad about the bad ones. And hopefully, people don't attack you sometimes too hard on your bad ones. Because they should understand that with being a leader, being a player, being a coach, that you have to keep making choices. The moment you stop making choices, then you lose against your competition. And if you make choices, you make them hopefully with the best information that you have at hand at that time. But sometimes more information comes in a little bit later, and you would have to make a different choice. So you have to adjust your choice, and that's nothing bad. That shows that you are a leader with character.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why if you have success in tennis, probably you're going to have success in any other industry, let's say, sector, because you have to be prepared for that.
I think so. I think what's really important, and you see that with all great people, they are great. They don't mind making choices. They don't mind putting their chest forward, but they're always humble. And they very rarely take things for granted. The moment you take things for granted, I think you're done. The moment Nadal takes for granted that he has his age and he has already won so many Grand Slams, and he comes into the next tournament and he thinks that he automatically is going to win because his name is Rafa Nadal, that's the end of it. He knows better than anybody else, all the top players know better than anybody else what kind of effort you have to put in every single time again. And you saw it at Roland Garros. I mean, it was so sad for him. You know how badly he wanted to win that next one, and he was playing great. Of course, still some great competitors like Novak in the draw, but you can see, although he won the quarters, he is not 100%, and he could not put in the preparation to play the semifinals. And he thinks, sorry, I cannot put in the effort that I need to put in to win. Even if I'm Rafael Nadal and my stomach is a little bit hurt, I cannot win a semifinal maybe, and I will hurt myself for a longer time. So I think that's a champion decision. How hard it is coming from him, and how badly he wants to win in Roland Garros.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about you, because you were a top player and also you were a champion in doubles. How was the leadership process and the communication process with your partner? How was for you?
That's an interesting one. You asked me that because Paul Harris and myself, we were a strange couple. I think some people maybe listening to this podcast, they will admit straight away. But by meanings is that Paul, in our doubles, he was always deciding, even on my serve, what was happening on the court, which is quite rare because normally it's always the guy who serves who is in control of that game. But Paul always loved it, even on my service games, that he knew what was happening, where the serve was going. It would make him feel more comfortable at the net. Paul is 4.5 years older than I am. He's a great competitor, and he's a very strong strategic player. So it helped a lot for him and also for me that he was making decisions. But sometimes when he was not playing well or not feeling happy on the court, he would ask my advice. I would give my advice, and even sometimes I would even completely take over that role, and I would start making decisions even on his serve, which is very rare. It very rarely happens because Paul most of the times was very comfortable and in control at any circumstance, and I would trust him a lot. And I said to him, I don't care, just tell me what to do. I will do it as good as possible. And then let's see if we can go and win the next match. So there was a very different way on how we split leadership on court.
Well, for sure you are friends, and also great empathy between each other, no?
Yeah, well, sure. That's it, mate. It's about trust. As I said, we had a common goal, and I knew Paul and we both wanted to win so badly. And we wanted to be number one, or we wanted to win tournaments in the short time that we played. We wanted to do that as good as possible. And I knew his anxiety, his wish to do so was stronger than mine. So there was never a doubt in my mind that Paul was trying to make decisions that were not going to be the best ones to win matches. So I had a lot of trust in that case, just because of his commitment and his love of competing. He's a huge competitor, much stronger competitor than I am. The good thing is I was stronger in self-belief on court. So I could say, okay, if I do this very well, only a strong player is going to beat me. Paul was more like, okay, this is what I need. This is what my opponent doesn't like, and I need to do this and this. He was always looking more towards the opponent, and I was looking more towards our own performance. And this combination has helped us a lot. This was for us a very, very successful combination.
Very good combination, because you can look what is damaging the others and also which is good for you in terms of
your own confidence. Yeah, exactly.
And how was that communication? Was keywords, dialogue, sometimes body language? How was that communication?
Well, we played in a phase, Fernando, where it was not very. We played what you call the more like the Aussie combination. I formation was just about to happen a little bit, and sometimes the hand slap after the point just to show commitment to your partner. It was not really there yet. We just started that only when we won a point. Like, oh, let's celebrate, high five, low five when you win a point. Nowadays, you see they give each other high five or fist pumps at almost every point, even if they lose one. We think like, hey, you just lost a point. Why give each other a high five? But that just started. The speaking like this behind the mouth just kind of started in our era. But we felt we needed to communicate by talking. So Paul and I, yes, we had hand signals behind our back. But we felt on first and on second serves, we would tell each other. So we would come together after every point. It shows also towards your opponent that you're talking, that you're a team, and that you have a plan. And we would say, okay, where do you go with first? Where do you go with second? What's the net guy going to do? Is he going to cross? Is he going to fake? Is he going to stay or whatever? So we always talked before every point on first and second serve, what we're going to do and what the net player was going to do. And on top of that, we would say, let's say Paul would tell me, okay, first go down the middle, I'll fake. Next one, go body, I'll cross. And then I would even say, okay, on the first one, if you fake, pay attention to the return down the line, because many times I would know that, okay, Woodbridge on his back and maybe would go down the line, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so we would warn each other. So this is has always been our communications, and only very rarely we would use hand signals. Sometimes after a net serve, maybe you would repeat what we already told each other. Sometimes we showed one on the back, because we saw what the net guy might see, that the guy returning all of a sudden would change position to run around a return, for instance, or change his tactics, but very rarely. I hate it, even when I see now that some guys, they show hand signals after the first serve, before the second serve. And I think if the net guy is asking for a certain solution, when the guy is serving, and the net guys or the serving guy can always say, no, I don't like this choice, show me another one. That to me would put doubt in my mind. I want to know. And I don't like to see changes last minute or last instant. Or if that guy is showing me something and I say no, and it is a second serve at 30-40 or whatever, well, I wouldn't like that. I want to be certain.
It's not creating a circle of confidence, no? It's like too many choices.
Too many choices, too many variables. And sure, you look at body language, you can see if your partner is looking happy, you can see what your opponents are doing or how you feel. But even with body language, sometimes I think it's better to ask the question, or in between points, or a changeover. If it's body language from you or from your partner, it's better to throw it out in the open and talk about it. And if it's an assumption, sometimes you make a bad assumption because your judgment is not very good when you're tired, or when it's important, when you're tight. You know, it's better to talk.
Yeah. And how you manage the key points? No, you won many big tournaments, Grand Slams, big tournaments. How you manage the pressure? You have like, let's say, practical way to do it. You know, we're gonna do this, or you adjust depending on the situation.
First of all, I think Paul and I, we loved it. I'm not exactly sure, but I think we played 60 finals and I think we won 44. At least I won 44 out of 60, I think. In my singles finals, I won all my singles finals that I played.
That's good.
I think I only lost one match in my life where I was match point. Yeah, where I was match point up and I still lost. I think that only happened to me once, maybe twice, but I don't remember. It's also actually good to forget. But, no, because that means we enjoy the pressure. I think that's the most important thing. First, you have to enjoy. You have to embrace it. That's why you play. You know, your tennis is to have great moments like that. So that's the first thing. But of course, a few things help. Routines. I think very important to have routines on changeover, in preparation, during those important moments. If you have a fixed routine, I think that helps. Clear leadership. Who's in charge of that point? Who's in charge of that game? I think that's very important. Then to think, okay, what has been our most successful strategy at this time? That's also important to know. Then obviously there's always a difficulty. Okay, am I going to use that again? Or does my opponent also know by now? And do I have to make a switch? And that's tricky. Do I stay confident and I'm going to do the thing that I do very well one more time, or do I have to be? Do I have to surprise my opponent? Surprise is good, but surprise also means maybe that you have to do something in a very important moment, in a tight situation where you don't feel that comfortable, and that's a very important mix. And I don't have a clear answer for that. That's a feeling that you need to have as a singles player or as a doubles player. Sometimes it helps to look to your coach. Sometimes maybe he can just have a little suggestion. And I think it's important, as a skill, whether it's the first game or whether it's the first of a set, or it's the first point of a game, they are also important. They are as important as 30-40 or 40-30, I think. And by having the same intensity in every point, it kind of spreads the importance also for a game. I mean, if you see the big players, how they come out of the locker room and the match is starting, they start at such a high intense level, and if you're not aware, they break you straight away. Or after you win a set against a great player, how many times don't you get broken in the first game of the next set? That happens so often. They're so good at those moments to change the momentum again. So it's try to be intensive at all times, and not only when it's important.
And then what happened off the court? How many did you talk in this case with Paul, or when you were a single player? Also, how much did you talk about tactical, technical stuff, or human being decision, quality decision, how you read the situation? How was the combination of the dialogue?
We had always in our partnership Alex Reiners, who was our coach at that time. He was very important to us, Alex. And funny enough, we didn't talk an awful lot off the court about tennis. Sometimes during dinner, in the evening, but more in a relaxed manner. We only started talking tactics most of the time the next morning, just before or just after our warming up. I didn't enjoy talking tactics or talking about our opponents for the next day. I don't enjoy doing that the evening before. I needed that time to kind of maybe still have a little joy for the match from the day before, or I needed that time to just be fresh again and to be ready to fight again the next day. I didn't speak a lot about my opponents for the next day. Paul didn't mind; he enjoyed that, and Alex too. So most of the time they went to see maybe other opponents in singles, or for our doubles opponents. If they would play, say the day before in the evening, they would go and check out on their preferences or on the tactics or on what they were doing well. I never did that. It would make me feel uncomfortable. It would make Paul comfortable, and it would make me uncomfortable. So I only usually started talking tactics and technique for that next match, usually in the morning of that day. Sometimes a little over breakfast, but I think we talked a lot to each other about how we are as a human being, and that I think that helped us an awful lot on how one person would react on court in a certain situation. So you get to know your partner really well, because you spent just an awful lot of time together and talking about a lot of different things. What is touching you emotionally in your private life, what you enjoy doing besides tennis, your hobbies. And I think these things are also really important to have a good partnership for a longer time. You don't need to do these things if you just have a partnership for a short term. If you have a partnership for a long term, I think you have to get along.
Yeah, it's a very, very clear concept, and like you did with Paul, it was a long-term partnership, no? And
yes,
and also you are very focused on the human being side. As many times we spoke about it, you are very focused. When you were coaching, let's say on the tour on some players, you use the same concept, no? Try to talk more about the human side rather to emphasize on technical stuff.
Yes, I don't pretend I'm the kind of person there are so many coaches who have been around really coaching with technical things or with exercises to improve technical decisions than me. I pretend that I do have a good eye, so I can see very quickly what's technically not correct. But I will not very quickly say that to a player. I will say that most of the time, obviously, to their private coach, or I would have mentioned that maybe to player and their coach, but I will not pretend, okay, what will be the next exercises that you can do to make things better again. So I don't pretend I have that kind of knowledge. I do like to talk more to players about being a professional. And that has to do with being organized on and off the court, what it takes to be a professional on and off the court, how to deal with important moments on and off the court, how to make choices and to be ready and to be prepared to make choices. These are things that I am quite good at. So I love to talk more about what we call not so much the mental part of it, but more the performance behavior.
Yeah.
So the different aspects of performance behavior. Yes, I'd like to share my knowledge on these topics more than really technical or technical choices.
Yeah, and that's one of the purposes of why we created the tennis talk, no coaches' voices, because how we can create high performance humans, no performers.
Yes,
which is
I see many times, Fernando, guys who have maybe the best technical skill in the world, and they are able to do it on practice. They are able to do it on a smaller courts. They are able to do it in the first couple of games, but when push comes to shove, it's not anywhere to be seen. Yeah, we've had some great examples from some Dutch players who were already not bad in juniors, but right now we see them develop at age 23, 24. I think that's a very interesting question. Why now all of a sudden they are developing so rapidly? And I don't think it has anything to do with how they're holding their grip on the forehand side or how they solve a inside-out court situation. I think it has to do with different things that have to be there also within the backpack. And then that combination of keep improving technically, keep improving tactically, getting more experience in playing matches, having people around you that you can trust and that you can talk to on what to take out of your backpack at what time and how often, that only will give you the confidence to start beating good players on a more regular basis. And this is more like a culture.
Yeah.
And I think this is where I enjoy my work the most. And I don't think I would be the kind of coach. I'm not saying that I'm not going to do it again, but I'm not the kind of coach who will spend a lot of time with a one-on-one situation, coaching maybe only one player. I think my knowledge is better when I can have more coaches that I can help on our programs to help them to be a better coach for the player. I think I'm a better maybe coach to more players on a court where I can share that to different players, or players who are open for it, that I work with them for a week, or I join them for the Billie Jean King Cup, or I join for the Davis Cup, or maybe I joined for a week or a couple of days here and there at the National Tennis Center with specific issues that they're working on. That to me is, I enjoy that at the moment in my current life. I enjoy that more than to reserve all my energy and my skills for only one person.
Yeah. And talking about that, how to work, how to deal with the new generations, because the stimulus and the inspiration, it changed a little bit. You compare what happened 30 years ago, 20 years ago, many things change. Technology is coming out, new digital generations are different. How we can send in the same message, the same content on the message, but how we can change the approach for the new generations?
That's a tough one, Fernando. I wish I had a straightforward answer for you, because I think it's almost $1 million question. Yeah. Because as a coach, most of the time, you're already a couple of years older. And as you just mentioned, if you keep comparing to, the early days or when you were playing yourself, it doesn't make much sense. Of course, the game is still the same. The scoring system is pretty much the same. Okay, maybe sudden death in doubles, or maybe match tie break in juniors or in doubles. But the principle is still the same. The court has still the same size. The net's still the same height. So the basic principles of the games, they have not changed. Dealing with pressure has not changed. So these things, I think you can still compare with all ages and different times. But the way they address the ball now, the mentality of where we thought this is a risky shot, this is a 50-50 shot. At the moment, the guys and girls, they're hitting these balls with the 80-20% security, because they are physically even better trained. The materials, the rackets and the strings, they allow them to have and speed and control, which in earlier days was harder to do. I see a wooden racket behind you. Well, it was you would be like really a magician if you could have speed and control at the same time with rotation. That was almost impossible.
Yeah.
And these things have changed, so that has changed the game. But also the kids nowadays, they are taking in their information at a much more rapid pace and in shorter brackets. I think it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I think for them it's sometimes harder to stay focused for a longer time. So you have to be inventive to keep their attention. But also therefore they are sometimes not taking important moments too important, and therefore they are still willing to, hey, let's go. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it's okay. I can just let's go for it. So I think that's a mindset that also helps you to stay sometimes a little bit more relaxed and just keep producing the big shots instead of getting too tentative too quickly. To use the innovation, to use technology, to show them with video, to show them with apps, to show them with match statistics. I think that these are so many opportunities to create their interest instead of maybe talking for them 1 hour on court, which maybe after 5 minutes they already lost their interest. And sometimes it's more efficient to show it sometimes to them, and to use. And we are using systems like PlaySide or Dartfish, also in our programs, like many federations or many players are doing, of course, and different other options. That's also a way of getting more information to the players. Sometimes, where as a player you have a feeling that's maybe not always the same as real time. And many times I came off the court in the early days, and my coach said, I wasn't so happy about this match. And I come from the court. Oh, I played great. It was fantastic. And you feel quite pleased. And he said, have I been watching a different match, or what's going on here? And now it's, with all the possibilities, you can just show, and you can show very clearly, okay, do you agree? This is what we just witnessed, right? And you can go from there. It's easier to prove, and maybe get that participation again. So it's hard. I have 3 sons. As I just mentioned earlier in the talk, 23, 21, 21. I am still able to draw their interest for certain things, but I have to be really enthusiastic, really smart, and really coming up with some creative solutions to keep their interest for a longer time,
Yeah, to motivate them.
Yeah, to motivate them. And so I think, Fernando, it comes down very quickly to make them understand that it's not your life, it's their life, it's their decision. And the sooner they are the owner of their own tennis journey, the sooner they realize that, then they hopefully start picking the right things from the right people at the right time. And they start combining all this, what's good for them. And at the same time, they hopefully keep listening to people who understand that it takes also quite a lot of discipline at the same time.
And talking about that, because you are doing a very good work and with your team on the Dutch Tennis Federation, tell us a little bit about your national project, how you are working, because you are doing a lot of not only developments, improvement, and innovations on the program.
Yeah, I must say we have been more successful on the men's side than on the women's side lately. First of all, there are already less girls starting to play tennis. There are less girls who like to play matches at junior age, less girls who want to compete more towards a professional level. Numbers are lower, and at the same time, you can see that the approach towards female athletes is more individual than with men. And I must say that we have been better from the federation and also from the tennis schools in the Netherlands to create more male players, sorry, because they can combine costs, they can combine training, they can combine playing doubles, they can combine traveling, they can combine the coach. And with girls, it has been more difficult. At a certain age, the girls just they need more personal attention. And this is something that I'm trying to solve going forward for my programs, which has been a puzzle for us. We are in good contact with them, but from a federation perspective, we don't have a lot of grip and control on the development from 18 years and older until now. Luckily, we have a great group of girls between the age 2004, 2006, hopefully also more younger, but especially this age group, where we have girls and they started to train now more at the National Tennis Center. And you can see that they enjoy being together more often. They enjoy traveling together. They enjoy the extra information together with the private coaches from what we as a federation try to help them. So it's a different way of bringing it. It's a different way of funding it. So yeah, we're trying to find our way there, and we call it in Dutch. It's called maatwerk. How do you say it? It's tailor-made. We are working now for the 14, 15 years old, and also the young professionals with the tailor-made program.
Okay.
So as soon as we see potential and we see the right values, we go to talk. We keep talking to them and their parents and their coaches, and we say, okay, let's sit down together. Do you want us to help? Are you willing to commit to some common rules and regulations on how we talk to each other, how we behave, what we think what's needed to be a professional? Yes? Okay, now let's talk. Where can we help you on technique, technical, physical, performance behavior, and on your tournament schedule? Where do you want us to help? And then we start talking to them. We tell them, yes, we can help you here, but then this is one part of the condition. We cannot help you here. We don't want to help you there. So we are very clear. I said small contracts basically with our players nowadays who are in our selections from 14, 15 years older. So it doesn't matter where they train. It doesn't matter. We don't have to be fully responsible for them the whole day. We can work with the private coaches. This is how we move forward now from age 15 and onwards.
That's very, very good. Last two questions, because we know, Jacco, that we can speak about tennis by hours. A couple more. What do you think about the new rule about the ATP coaching allowed to coaches to speak on the box and the next trial until end of the year?
I have very mixed feelings, Fernando. I understand from an entertainment point of view. You can see also with the female coaches who are allowed to come on court sometimes. Where I feel a little bit scared is not everybody has the privilege of traveling with the coach all the time. So, the lower you go, the more expensive it will be because you have not how much more expensive. It will still be as expensive, but you will have less income to pay for a coach. And if you don't have a support for a sponsor, a management company, a federation, rich parents, then to have a coach with you at all times, it's. I don't think it's something that you can take for granted. So players who can afford it, they will have a slight advantage, depending on how low you go with letting coaches go on court. At the tour level, most of the time you see the players in top 100 that they can afford and they can travel with the coach. So then it's equal situation. Then I think it's okay. But still, personally, I still think it's not great to do. Let's have team events to coach the Davis Cup, the Billie Jean King Cup, the Lever Cup, the Hopman Cup, or whatever cup you have. Let's keep that European Cups for juniors or World Team Cup for the wheelchairs. Let's keep the team events for coaching on court. And you, at the same time, we all know that coaches are saying things when players are on court. Whether you allow it or not, the coaches are doing it anyways. So yeah, that may be also the reason why they are allowing it, because it's going to be done anyways. But I still think it's a battle between 2 against 2 or 1 against 1. So for me, I just love to compete against one other guy, and the less interference he gets during the match, I think the fairer it is. The fairer it is between 2 competitors or 4 competitors trying to beat each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, the player will take the decision. No,
I hope so. And if the coaches can be there too often, they have on the other hand, they are still, if they are there, they're still yelling things from the stands anyway. So they're showing signals or whatever. It happens anyway. So I know I'm a little bit. Maybe I'm a little old and naive in this case, but I still feel in normal competition, the less involvement during the match from a coach, the better.
Yeah. Final question. Are you enjoying your ride?
I'm enjoying my life very much. I hope I show that I'm enjoying my life. I have had a couple of sad things happening in my surroundings over the last couple of weeks, which were not that nice. Losing friends and family, and I always say, hopefully you don't need these sad moments to enjoy every moment that you get doing the things that you love, spending times with the people that you like to be spending time with. I have become a little bit harder in that last part. If there are just people who are not willing to work with me as a person, with my team, with us as a federation, or who don't want to spend time with my family, then I'd rather don't spend time with them. It's fine. It's okay. I won't judge you. That's fine with me. But I don't enjoy spending time anymore with people who are thinking negative, who are acting negative, who are only thinking about problems, who are just criticizing all the time just because they want to criticize. I just don't want to spend time with them anymore. Sometimes with my job, I don't have the options to completely ignore them because they have a certain position within partnerships or within our own structure. But I only want to spend time with people that give me energy and who don't take energy out of me. My work and all the things that I do are already tough enough. And if I have only the people around me that are just taking and taking and taking and taking and not giving, then to me it's not worth it. I think I have the luxury in life and the privilege with the things that I've done in the past, and that I can make that decision for myself. Not always as a director at the federation, but even there, I think that most of the time I can make a decision on how much time I want to spend with these kind of people or how much podium I give them.
Yeah.
And I love criticism. I sincerely love it because it's just like a diamond. The more you rub it, the better, the smoother it gets. I don't mind criticism at all. Just give it to me. Just give it to me frankly. Just give it to me straight. Don't give it to me via. Don't give it to me through the internet. Don't give it to me without solutions. Don't give it to me without thinking about all the information that's been taken into consideration, and just these things that they are very tiresome, I must say. And I'm happy. I'm happy working every day, whether it's behind the computers for 10 hours a day, whether it's on court. Yesterday I was spent around the Challenger. I saw Talent Griekspoor win in Amersfoort. The moment we are recording it's a Monday. I loved it. Man, I just loved to see him play. I was just enjoying it like crazy.
Enjoying.
Yeah, next day I'm looking at the 7 to 10 years old. I love to do it. I'm in a board meeting. I'm watching padel. I'm watching tennis. Talking to you. Hey, life's not that bad.
No, for sure. We love tennis, and finally, we want to say thank you, Jacco, for all the things. Firstly, for who you are. You are supporting tennis and doing a lot for our sport in many ways. Thank you for that. And also, thank you to be in our episode of the Tennis Talk, Coaches' Voices, where the coaches have a voice to speak about what matters, what is important, and also thank you very much to be with us in this episode.
Yes, I enjoyed it very much, Fernando. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Jacco. And also thank you very much to Tennis One, GPTCA, ATP coaches, and also the Segal Institute who create this episode to create a bridge between you, because we want to raise your awareness about what it takes to be high performance people. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jacco, again. Until the next episode of the Tennis Talk.
I am Alberto Castellani, President of GPTCA, Global Professional Tennis Coach Association. Learn from the best ATP coaches in the world. I hope that at the end of this course you will learn a lot of things. I hope that I will see you on the circuit with your player. This is the goal.